Hi, this is Rachel Hayes with another episode of my Do You Mind series, in which I share some information and thoughts about the things that I think truly make us human, namely our brain and our mind. In today's podcast, I'm going to talk about savants, incredible people with incredible abilities. Why this topic? Well, I was watching a documentary about a man called Kim Peek. A man who has a developmental disorder, but who also has incredible abilities, especially related to being able to count hundreds of objects instantly, or perform mathematical calculations extremely quickly and accurately. Anyway, the documentary made me think that savants would make an interesting topic for a podcast. So I did some research and, well, here we are. So, let's start with the obvious question. What, or perhaps who, is a savant? According to experts in brain development, people with savant syndrome have at least one incredible mental ability that is far superior to what is considered typical or the norm. This special ability is usually found in one of 5 categories. Abilities related to art, to memory, to mathematics and logic, to music, or to spatial awareness. In addition, and this is important, people with savant syndrome also typically have a developmental disability of some kind. For example, many savants have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. This disorder can lead to some challenges with verbal communication. Why do some people develop savant syndrome? Well, there are several theories, but none that has wide acceptance. In other words, we don't really know. We do know of many people with savant syndrome, though. I've already mentioned Kim Peek, who was a fascinating person. When he was born, Peek's brain was damaged in certain ways. It's possible that his savant abilities developed because his body had to create unusual connections between the left and right halves of his brain. His abilities included an incredible memory. He is said to have memorized, that is, he remembers the exact contents of more than 12,000 books. He was also extremely good at performing mathematical calculations quickly and accurately. Another person with savant syndrome is Stephen Wiltshire, a fellow Londoner. Wiltshire was diagnosed with autism when he was 3 years old. He has an amazing ability to draw things in incredible detail from memory, even if he has seen them just for a very short time. Taking a single short helicopter ride over Tokyo, and then drawing a detailed and accurate reproduction of what the city looked like from the air, was one of the most amazing examples of his unusual skills. More amazing? He did this entirely from memory. Even more amazing? He reproduced this drawing on a 30-foot-long canvas in less than a week. Anyway, as I was researching this topic, I came across a category of savants that I hadn't heard about before. For the savants I've mentioned so far, Kim Peek or Stephen Wiltshire, their abilities typically began when they were very young. 3 or 4 years old is typical. But there's another group of people who didn't show any savant skills as young children, but suddenly acquired amazing skills because of an injury or illness to their brain or central nervous system. These people are called acquired savants, or sometimes sudden savants. A good example of an acquired savant is Tony Cicoria. At the age of 42, Cicoria was struck and almost killed by lightning. Approximately 2 months after this accident, Cicoria became intensely interested in listening to and playing piano music. This was notable because, before his accident, he had no special interest in music at all. What's more, Cicoria found that he could hear music in his mind that he had never heard before. It turns out that the accident gave him an amazing ability to compose new music, even though he had never had any formal training in music composition. Orlando Sorrell is another interesting example of a person with acquired savant syndrome. One day, when he was 10 years old, Sorrell was playing baseball. He got hit hard on the head with the ball, but felt well enough to continue playing. He had a headache afterward that stemmed from the injury. One that lasted for several days, in fact, but never went to see a doctor. After his headache finally disappeared, Sorel realized he had two new special mental abilities. The first was that if somebody told him a date, such as June 13th, 1970, Sorel could easily and quickly calculate what day of the week that was, a Saturday in this case. His other new talent was an ability to remember what the weather was like on any day in the past that he experienced. After learning about acquired savants, I began to wonder if all of us have hidden talents locked inside our brains. It's an intriguing thought, but unless doctors discover an easier way to access those talents than being hit on the head or struck by lightning, I suspect those talents will remain hidden. Anyway, that's it for this podcast. I'm Rachel Hayes, and thanks for listening.